You're back for more sci-fi here on BuzzChomp. I'm Dan Salem, and today we're revisiting Black Mirror Season 1, Episode 1, aka Starfleet. Because the alternate reality was not what it seemed. It was like way bigger, way more intense, and we only got to see a sliver. Whoa, am I right? Whoa.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Dan.
Subscribe to
BuzzChomp.
Woo!
For those who are unfamiliar, Season 1 of Black Mirror was basically multiple standalone short stories. So the first episode dealt with the universe in which an individual created a virtual world. Now this is not a new concept, but in this show, this creator had his own test world. Because, when you make something, you have a demo version and then the live version for the general public to utilize. Basically, the show took place in the test version of it, which was a recreation of his favorite TV show, Starfleet, a la Star Trek, which is amazing. It was awesome. Very well done, very thought out. And he was able to take the DNA of any person and create a version of them inside his demo universe. Now, it begs multiple questions of whether or not these people were really real inside the virtual world. Was it a virtual world at all? Or was it just another universe which he created? Now, if he didn't populate it with these people, it would have been a vacant hole inside his demo version. The alternate reality that's never discussed is the fact that we only saw the demo version. There was a live version for the entire world to utilize. You could come to several conclusions. It could be like Ready Player One, where it's a giant universe full of people and their created characters, and there are non-player characters inside it as well. So there are versions of yourself in there if you put yourself inside. Now, no one else supposedly has the same technology that the creator has to utilize DNA and put anybody inside, because he just basically got DNA off of cups, off of straws, and then stuck it in a machine and synthesized the person into his virtual world. However, if he created that technology, it's also likely someone else developed the same technology. There is a giant virtual world playground for the general population to utilize. That is one conclusion we are drawing. Now, we don't actually know the public utilization, the public facilitation of this world. Only know his demo version. All we do is see the people locked into it. But he created a demo and then streamlined it to be just like Starfleet, and then put all of his friends and foes inside of it, and basically they were prisoners. Now, the genius of the episode is that they were as real in real life as they were inside the game, to the point where they were able to communicate with the outside world and then save themselves and potentially set themselves free or end their existence so that they were no longer slaves. Very, very much a play on what it means to be a human. The reality is not the reality. We, as humans, create our own reality. We perceive time in individual, unique ways. Everybody perceives it differently. Everybody experiences time slightly differently. Everybody experiences reality differently. He, in this show, created a sub-reality for himself to go play in. He also put people he knew inside it. We have people in our heads, versions of them, from our world. So much like he took DNA and put that person inside his fake universe, it's not really fake though, is it, if they're alive? We meet people and put them inside the version of reality in our heads, and they're trapped there for eternity, and we do with them what we please. Now, when we dream, we do whatever we want with those people, and they have no control over it. We are in control. It's very much like what this person did in the show. Now, the difference is that they were making this very much something we could wrap our brains around and relate to, a la a video game virtual reality. But it's much more esoteric than that, which is why the show in this particular episode is so brilliant. What is reality? The people in the real world in the show were living. The versions of the people in the virtual world in the show were also living. They didn't have genitalia. They didn't go to the bathroom. They didn't eat. But they were very much conscious. So what does it mean to be alive? Just because you don't live like a human being doesn't mean you're not a living creature. There are lots of things that are alive that don't live like we live. All animals must live. They eat, they poop, they have sex to recreate new versions of themselves, they sleep, and they die. However, the versions in this virtual world did not have any of those constraints of humanity, yet they had all of the mental knowledge. So basically, you take the DNA and create a replication. And then you also are also replicating the brain. So there's no soul. No, there was a soul though. So that's the weird part about the episode and why it's very esoteric and what is reality. Because as far as we could tell, the replications in the virtual world had just as much a soul as the versions of themselves in the real world. Now they became different people because of their enslavement and entrapment, but they, as far as we know, started as the same person. And if you believe in the multiverse theory, which it's kind of not like whether you believe in it, it's just whether you can accept it or not. There is an infinite number of universes, so every possibility exists, and there's an infinite number of versions of yourself. They all basically started from the same point, birth, and then environment shaped them in infinitely different ways. It's no different than this person and then their double in the virtual, I gotta do a lot of air quotes here, virtual world in the show. The point being, those people in the virtual world were just as much alive as the versions of themselves that they spawned from. Yet they had none of the constraints of humanity. They didn't have to sleep or eat. They didn't have sexual desires, as far as we could tell. And they were basically limitless. Just thinking, moving brains and souls, but the body wasn't going to deteriorate, as far as we know. Now, I keep having to say as far as we know, because this is a single episode. It's the lowest common denominator. They exist in there, and then they tried to escape and succeeded. Spoiler alert. Could they die? Or do they live forever at the age in which they were put in there? And see, that's the funny thing. The DNA doesn't determine the age. So it would have made more sense to me that they would have went in as babies and aged. Yet, there was no aging in this virtual world. Virtual. So he almost created a perfect version of life minus all of the setbacks and ramifications which allow you to live. So none of the versions in there could actually live because they don't die. They weren't born. They don't have to eat. They don't have to make love. They have sex. They have none of those human urges. They're basically just existing. Some people might say that's cool. It also could really, really suck. It's really like, so that's why I keep up. What does it mean to be alive? What does reality mean to you or to that person? There's talks of a spin-off. This would be amazing because I really want to see what the public live version of this virtual world is. And does it have the same drawbacks, limitations? Did he just choose not to give? I think he just chose not to give those people organs because he had basically full control. He was God. Now, there are a lot of theories out there about how humans came to Earth. There are religious theories. There are scientific theories. There are alien theories, which are more or less scientific. So there are a lot of pseudoscientific theories. Bottom line, we really don't have any idea how we got here. There are just lots of theories and some evidence. Those people didn't have any idea how they got in that world either until someone told them, because then they were interacting with the guy that was popping in and out, and he did the freeze frame. So that was kind of the cool thing, right? Do we not see people standing around the Earth just kind of there? When we go to sleep, we're basically freeze framing, just like when he freeze framed to go get his Domino's pizza. So there are so many analogies and allegories to our real world. It doesn't make that much of a virtual world at all, does it? It just makes it a different representation of what it means to be alive. What's right, what's wrong, who is alive and who isn't. That world would still exist if everybody in the real world died. So then what's real and what's not if they're existing? Where do they exist? But where do we exist? That's the thing. We say we're on Earth and we're in the universe. Yes. But as anything gets infinitely smaller, it obviously gets infinitely larger. So we're something small inside something bigger, just like the other molecules are something small inside something bigger. They were something small inside something bigger. We don't really know where any of it exists. This is the brilliance of this, and this is why I'm psyched if they do a spin-off, because I'd love to explore this concept further. I'd love to see a little bit more Starfleet, too. It's easy to gloss by the Starfleet recreation. But the fact of the matter is they were reliving Star Trek in its glory days. I was no Trekkie, but I love the I still do appreciate it. And they were fighting Klingon-like creatures and Romulan-like creatures. And basically, the irony was they were being forced to live out Starfleet life. And then once they finally freed themselves from their godlike creator who was a warlord slave, they were living like Starfleet. They could go anywhere in the universe and explore its depths. Universe, because it's a virtual world. We don't know where they ended up. We don't know where they went. But now they were actually freely living the exact same life that they were slave living earlier. Go watch Black Mirror Season 1, Episode 1 all over again, because you will see it in a completely new light. And it'll probably blow your mind a little bit. Totally did for me. I'm Dan Salem. Subscribe to the BuzzChomp YouTube channel. We're talking sci-fi here all the time. And comment below. What was your take on this episode of Black Mirror? Did I miss something? Do you have a completely different interpretation of what you think happened? Because there are no right or wrongs when we're talking science fiction. Woo!
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.